What's going on, everyone? Welcome into a special edition of Final Whistle. I have ESPN Bracketologist and the creator of Bracketology, Joe Lunardi, with me today. Joe, it's a pleasure to have you on. I hope everything's going well with you, especially with March Madness around the corner.
Do you know, as we record this, March is now about 60 hours away. How cool is that?
It's absolutely phenomenal. I can't imagine any time better than March Madness. So let's jump right in. Well, I know we're crunched for time here. So just what led to you to start projecting the NCAA tournament, aka bracketology, what it's now called? And did you ever see it blowing up like it has?
Well, here's what I would say to that, Blaine. Like, you're probably a little too young to be married with children. So, if on a given Saturday in February or March, my choice was to do brackets or household chores, I mean, it was pretty easy pickings at that point. No, I started as a sports reporter. I covered these, teams out of my area of the country. I was a sports writer in Philadelphia, and we always had teams in the mix. And I just became fascinated with the tournament and how it was put together. And if I told you that there was some grand plan that I'd be sitting here, 25 years later in something called the Bracket Bunker and with a book over my shoulder, I would have said you were nuts. And I know there's people out there that think I'm nuts. So maybe it's a perfect marriage.
Absolutely. So I want to transition to this year real quick. How large is that gap between the 2 line and the 4 line, and as well as the 10 to the last 4 in? I know that for you, you just dropped your latest edition this morning. So how big's that gap?
Well, none of the current 4s are going to be a 2. I'm thinking it through in my head. Could Kansas or another Big 12 team run the table and move up? That I suppose, because they'd have to put up a pretty good number of high-end wins in a short period of time to get there. But we've seen over the years that's A, it's unlikely, and B, it's also unlikely that the committee seems to be paying attention that late in terms of how they finish up the field. Now, when you're talking about bubble to last 4 in, that's a different story for this reason. Teams at that range of the bracket, generally speaking, are playing roughly 500 basketball at this point in time. In a typical week, they'll win one and lose one. And in a really typical week, they'll win a home game and lose a road game in the major conferences anyway. And, you'll say, well, how do you know they're 500? Well, I know that they're roughly 500 because in their leagues, that's where they've been, and that's where they've been for 2 months, right? If they were better than that, they wouldn't be on the bubble. And like, I didn't put them there. You didn't put them there. Their record put them there. And, that's why when people say, well, how do we move up or how do we get in? I'll say, have a 2-game winning streak, like win this week, and you'll be surprised at the number of teams that you pass.
Absolutely. Standing on the bubble for you, what's a couple of teams that are not in the tournament right now for you that have a lot of opportunities to make themselves get in?
Well, I guess the ones everybody talking about now are Michigan State and Duke, right? I mean, the only time they've ever been associated with the word bubble are probably when they take a shower and have bubbles. I don't know. Like, it's just not in their vocabulary. But it's been a strange year in so many ways, and here we are. I think that both have enormous opportunities in front of them, particularly Michigan State, which also means they have some pretty huge hurdles as well. I think Duke can sneak in, and Michigan State is going to have to kind of bulldoze in, if you will. And, 2 of their last 3 wins over Illinois and Ohio State, a number 1 and a number 2 seed. There aren't a lot of bubble teams in any season that beat teams like that this late in the year. So it's hard to ignore. It's not their quote unquote brand that's moving them up. It's the quality of their wins.
Absolutely. So for you, what's the most difficult part of trying to seed teams for your bracketology?
Uh, there's really no single answer to that because, what looks like number 13 overall to me might be number 18 to you. And there are perfectly good reasons to make it that way. Yet one is a 5 seed and one is knocking on the door of a 3. And that's why we will get some head scratchers on selection Sunday. But the way I've always kind of aggregated metrics and assigned my own quality points, if you will, to wins and losses helps to minimize the number of outliers, at least from my perspective, because my job is really to try and take one set of inputs and extrapolate it over 10 people's votes, right? It's not my own opinion about what a team should be one way or another. My job is to replicate them, not say me. There's a zillion other people on the air who tell you what they think from a basketball perspective. My job is to explain it from a bracket perspective and make the most accurate forecast that can be made. So maybe what I do is a little different from others in that regard. So what makes them hard to seed is that in a lot of ways, on every line of the bracket, they all look the same.
For sure. And before I let you go, I know you're pressed for time again. You want to talk quickly about your book that's coming out this year, On the Bubble?
Yeah, sure. Buy it. It's really good. It's over my shoulder. TriumphBooks.com. You won't regret it.
Hey, go buy it. Joe Lunardi's book. I want to thank you for your time. Good luck the rest of the way. And we can't believe March Madness is already around the corner.
Let's go, Blaine. Let's enjoy it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joe. Have a great day.
You too.